You've heard it a million times, right? Your computer freezes, your travel plans go haywire, you drop your keys down a drain, and someone, somewhere will say, ugh, Mercury is definitely in retrograde. So today, let's actually dig into that and ask, what is really going on?
I mean, it's become this total cultural shorthand, our go-to excuse for when life just feels a little messy. But is that all it is? A modern superstition? Or could there be something real hiding behind the meme? That's the big question we're unpacking here.
So, this whole debate usually boils down to two camps. You've got the astrological belief that this is a genuine period of cosmic turmoil that directly messes with our lives, and then you've got the hard astronomical fact. It's just an optical illusion. It only looks like Mercury is moving backward because Earth is passing it in orbit. Simple as that. Case closed, right?
Well, maybe not so fast. What if there's another possibility? A third option that says, yeah, it's an optical illusion, but that illusion happens to coincide with a very real, very physical event, an effect that both science and astrology have completely overlooked.
And that brings us to our first section, because the theory we're diving into today argues that even though the backward motion is a trick of the eye, the actual alignment of the planets that causes it is absolutely real. Now, the timing of this is super specific and really important. This whole thing happens roughly every 4 months, and it lasts for a few weeks at a time. And here's the key. It only happens when Mercury is on the very same side of the Sun as we are, essentially lapping us on the inside track of the solar system.
Okay, so to get what this theory is proposing, we have to introduce a pretty radical new concept from the source material. Everything that follows is built on this one idea, something it calls the Sun's charge field.
So what is that exactly? Well, this theory claims that the Sun is blasting out more than just light and heat. It's emitting a constant, powerful stream of charged particles, photons. And this isn't just some minor detail. The theory presents this field as the fundamental engine of our entire solar system, maybe even more important than gravity in many ways.
Now, we are not talking about small claims here. This charged field is supposedly the reason for, well, just about everything. The heat in our planet's core, why the planets spin the way they do, even the energy source that makes life possible in the first place. It's a whole new way of looking at how the cosmos works, according to this author.
Okay, so if the Sun is constantly sending out this stream of energy, and Earth is basically feeding on it, where does Mercury fit in? Well, this is where the retrograde idea comes back in a big way.
Here's how it's supposed to work. As Mercury swings between us and the Sun, it acts like a kind of cosmic sponge. It soaks up the charged particles that were headed our way, which then creates a charged shadow behind it. So for those few weeks of retrograde, Earth is literally flying right through this patch of depleted energy.
All right, you're probably thinking what I was thinking. Hold on a second. Venus is way bigger than Mercury, and it can get much closer to us. So shouldn't it cast an even bigger charged shadow? It's a totally fair question, and the theory actually has a very specific answer for it. And here's the explanation. The theory says it's not about the size of the planet, it's about its location and its speed. See, Mercury is way closer to the Sun, where this charge field is supposedly super dense. And on top of that, it's moving incredibly fast. We're talking 47 kilometers a second. The idea is that this combination lets Mercury sweep up way more charge, second for second, than the bigger but slower Venus.
The source gives a really great analogy to help this click. Just think about our own atmosphere. It's thickest and densest down here at sea level, and it gets thinner and thinner the higher up you go. Well, this theory suggests the Sun's charge field is exactly like that, incredibly dense right near the Sun, and it spreads out as you get farther away. Mercury is just flying through the thickest part of it.
Okay, so what does it supposedly feel like when Earth is passing through one of these charged shadows? What are the actual consequences of this temporary energy dip for us down here on the ground?
The theory connects this giant cosmic event to something really personal. It describes a low charge period as being like low blood sugar, but for the whole planet, including us. You know that feeling when your coordination is just a tiny bit off? You're more likely to make a typo, or trip on the sidewalk, or stub your toe. Those are the little micro effects of this energy dip.
And the argument doesn't stop at personal clumsiness. It then scales this idea way, way up. The logic goes, if a few weeks of low charge causes minor glitches, then what about much longer, more intense periods of low solar charge, which we call solar minimums? The theory links these major periods throughout history to huge catastrophes. We're talking famines, droughts, and major social upheavals.
Now, this is where the author takes the theory into very recent and extremely controversial territory. The argument builds to this conclusion, which I'm reading as a direct quote from the source material, that a recent solar minimum created a low-charge environment, causing lots of minor health issues, and that this natural event was seized upon to create the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, just to be crystal clear, this is the direct and highly contentious claim being made in the material we're looking at.
So, taking a step back from that, what would it mean if a theory like this were true? What would the bigger implications be? It would basically rewrite our entire understanding of how the heavens influence the Earth. And this is a really key point. In a weird way, the theory supports the absolute core idea of astrology, that planetary positions matter, that we're all connected. But at the same time, it totally challenges how astrology is practiced. It suggests astrologers are tracking the right events, but for all the wrong reasons, because they don't understand the physical mechanics of charge underneath it all.
So the big takeaway here is this. What's being proposed is an attempt to swap out mystical forces for a new kind of physics. It's a model based on tangible, measurable energy, not on symbols or ancient traditions.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. Whether you buy into this specific theory or not, it does make you ask a pretty profound question. What if that ancient idea of as above, so below is actually based on a physical reality we just haven't figured out yet? What if the universe is connected in ways that are far more direct than we currently imagine? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.